everybody, Gina DeLuca here. All right, we are in full experiment mode today, trying a new combination of things to see what happens. So I have, for my base coat, I have Amsterdam Expert Series in Indigo. So this is just going on the canvas. This is not going in my pouring cup. I am going to try to use all Piggies, this Little Piggy Pigments, with a bit of cloud pour. So what we have here, let me just get to this part. All of the pigments, all these four, are started with Josonja Gloss Varnish. So I add some of that to the cup and then add the pigment to that and get that nice and incorporated. And then for these two colors, I added the Liquitex Gloss Super Heavy Gel. So these have both the gloss varnish and the gloss gel in it. These two have the gloss varnish and the TriArt modeling paste clear in matte. So these two colors are Vinyasa and, oh, I did that backwards. Hold on. These two. So it's, yep, here we go. So Zimzalin and Vinyasa are the two that are all gloss. Well, besides the Floetrol. And then these two are Crescendo and Bloodstone. And these have the matte medium added to it. All of these have been mixed with Floetrol. So 1 part paint, 2 parts Floetrol. Basically, once I add the pigment to the Josonja and I add either the modeling paste or the gloss gel until it becomes a tube paint consistency, and then I add 2 parts Floetrol to that mixture. This here, which is my cloud mix, this is a mix of some of my leftover paints from the last painting. And what is in there is the DecoArt Satin Enamel, Americana Decor Satin Enamel in pure white. There was a bit of Amsterdam Titanium White. So that's a half and half. And there is a touch of Quinacridone Magenta. And I think it was a little teeny tiny bit of Phthalo Blue from Liquitex Basics. To get this particular shade, you can just do the satin enamels with titanium white. You could do the satin enamels with just the magenta. That works too. I've done that. Get some really cool results. It doesn't just have to be white and white. You can mix the white with another color. And the other satin enamels also create cells. But they do kind of react a little differently, so it would require some testing to see how you want it to go. So these paints are mixed, 1 part paint, 2 parts Floetrol. I add a bit of water to it until I get the consistency that I'm looking for, which is about a 2 on my consistency scale. It is making a mound, but it disappears quickly. It's making a nice thin, even stream off of my stick. If it's getting thin and thick and thin and thick, then that means you need to do some more mixing because your consistency is inconsistent. Before we get started, have you seen the Fluid Art inspiration cards? If you have, you can fast forward about a minute, but if you have not, what we have are 52 cards. There are 42 technique cards, and each technique card has an associated video here on YouTube that gives you the exact paint brand, consistency, colors, the recipe, the technique, basically all the things that I can't fit onto a card. This is a picture of the painting in that video. This box contains a tip for this technique. Here at the bottom, you have the color palette that was used in this painting. And these two can be used together, these two boxes can be used together as the basis of a 2-color palette, or you can build off of those colors. And there are 8 bonus color palette cards. Each one has 5 color palettes. You can use all of the colors or just some of the colors. Mix and match the bonus color palette cards with the technique cards, and you have more combinations than you could ever paint in a lifetime. These are available at my website, ginadeluca.net, and also at amazon.com. All right, the first thing I'm going to do is lay down my base coat. You'll notice I've already covered my edges. The reason I do that is because I do mix pretty thin, and Floetrol is not the greatest for covering the sides. It does extend your work time, so that makes your paints dry slower, which helps with cracking. If it's drying slower, it's less likely to crack on you. And it does finish matte, so the painting will dry rather dull, but will come back to life once you varnish it. But because it has a mattifying effect, it is spectacular to use in straight pours. When you are trying to get cells without silicone, I cannot recommend Floetrol enough. If I don't want cells, I would probably use something other than Floetrol, because I always get cells with Floetrol, whether I want them or not. So the reason we lay down a base coat is because we want our paints to slide around evenly and easily. I am using a color that is close to something that is in my pour that, what was it called? Vinyasa. Is really, it's like a deep bluish gray, and once this dries, this will be much darker than it appears, because Floetrol is a milky white color, and so it does make your paints appear brighter than how they will dry, because the Floetrol dries clear. So if you find in your paintings, you know, say you mix your Floetrol with some dioxazine purple and you're like, oh man, that's a beautiful color, I love that, and then it dries almost black, that is why. So if you like the way that color looks with the Floetrol, add a little bit of titanium white to that to brighten it up. But the reason I lay down this base coat is because I want these paints to slide around as easily as possible, and the reason I am not using this Little Piggy Pigments for that is because, you know, that's a precious material, and the base coat is just going to probably get covered up. So unless something so incredible happens on the edge of my puddle that makes me want to have some negative space, in which case this color still works with the palette I'm using. Also, another reason to use this color instead of white, let's say, there's no white in this painting. So if I had little tiny cells popping up from the base coat through my pour, they would stand out like a sore thumb. Oh, burning 2 times, never starts the first time. Pop the bubbles in the base coat, as the ones I was just talking about. You can get most of them, but you probably won't get them all, so it is a good idea to think ahead about what color base coat you're going to use. All right, my base coat is down. Let's put some paint in a cup. Always check your consistency before adding to your cup. The sauce may thicken upon standing, as this one has a wee bit. So regarding the base coat, when you lay down your base coat, it's going to help your paints slide around. If you don't have a base coat, something has to stick to the canvas first. That's going to be the paints on the edge of your puddle, and then the center of your puddle will roll over those edges. Sometimes the coolest things happen on the edge of that puddle, and you might want to keep that and just have a negative space piece, which is why it is good also to think about what color you're using for your base coat. All right, that is looking better. A little mixing tip, if you smash against the side of the cup, as opposed to doing a lot of stirring like you're whipping eggs, this will lessen the amount of bubbles you get, but also it's a lot faster, because if there are any lumpy spots, that helps to break them up a lot easier. All right. So if this were a typical straight pour, this first color would have been the same color as my base coat. What I am hoping for is that the colors that are going in first, these first two colors that are mixed with the gloss paints, I am hoping that that winds up becoming the background, and the ones that are mixed with the matte paints will hopefully attach themselves to that satin enamel and kind of become part of the cells. So that's what I'm hoping for. Will that happen? I don't know. Pouring from up high, allowing these to kind of sink and churn. And now these are the ones that are mixed with matte. Again, from up high. Typically, the colors that go in last, the last one that I pour from up high ends up at the very bottom of the cup. But also, I'm usually using a lot, about the same amount as the other paints. I'm going to be using less, so I'm just going to put that one in third. Oh, geez Louise. Okay. Look, you take me out of my routine and I don't know what's happening. I can't tell you how many times when I go to a gig and it's like either someplace I've never played or they've changed the layout, and then all of a sudden I'm very confused about how to set up my PA, because I'm a person of routine and system. Okay, here is the Bloodstone. This is a really pretty brown. It's like all of these colors will be more vibrant when they dry. Again, the Floetrol really lightens them up. And again, from up high, allowing to sink and churn. I get some really cool blending of colors when I allow them to mix that way in the cup. All right. So we'll see what happens. Let's make a mess, shall we? I think I might just do a traditional straight pour. just to see how this reacts. As I get closer to the bottom of the cup, I will get closer to the canvas, and I will actually do a little swirl here in the center so I have a focal point. And what happens in the center is very important, because that is actually the part that's going to get stretched the most, and it will wind up becoming the focal point of your painting. Okay, I give myself a 10 on that dismount. Going to pop the bubbles. Okay, so far, not a whole lot of satin enamel action. Perhaps I should have mixed some fresh, so I would have known exactly what my ratios were in that cup. If I wind up not getting any kind of cell action, I will try this again with some fresh satin enamel. I did change a lot of things all at once, you know. I mean, it's kind of not really within the rules of being scientific, but all right. I mean, worst case scenario, I will do an embellishment over this piece, because I know the background will be beautiful because it's all the pigments, and it's going to look super cool when it's all dry and blingy. Could always paint the USS Enterprise in here. Although whenever I see these, I think about Doctor Who. I might do a whole series of just having the call box, the TARDIS. All right, well, it's not looking like I am getting a lot of hydrophobic reaction here from the satin enamels. So I guess I'll just give this a stretch, and I will make the best of it after it dries. We'll see what happens with it. All right, I'm going to come in this direction first. It looks like it wants to set up that way. Oh, I see a lump of something in there. It's causing a problem. Hold tight. If you have an area where you can see there's something pulling the paint, it could just be a thick piece of paint often that's what it is, and I just made it worse, so, because I stuck my finger in it. All right. Well, I'm kind of half tempted to play around with this, just because there's not much going on. Let's see. Where is my tool? If I... No. All right. I think I got the lump. Nope, I still see it. Darn it. All right, I'm gonna have to be brutal here, because this will not, if there's a lump in there, that won't dry flat either, so. I feel like it's just a lumpy, thick piece of paint. I'm just trying to blend that in a little bit. All right, let's see. Is it gone? I don't know. We'll see. I'm going to bring the paint back to center before changing directions. That will allow me to push the paint around how I like it. You can see I'm almost getting a corner. I'm coming back to this other side, and I would love to keep as much of that as possible, but some of it is going to come off. All of that right there is bumming me out. It's bumming me out. I want perfection, darn it. All right, that feels a little better. Let's see. I kind of feel like this isn't quite balanced, and I want to tilt some off from this side and really give that center a good stretch. All right. by being mindful of where the weight of your paint is, you can really have a lot of control over your composition. Trying to stretch these light parts a bit more. I don't want so much dark. All right. I am going to leave that alone and let it sit, see if anything happens. I'm not really anticipating any cells popping up. I will have to rethink my my plan of attack for trying to get a straight pour where there's more piggy showing, because usually the satin enamel just eats it up. So I guess we will see what happens, and I will bring you in for a close-up back in a few. Okay, well, here it is. I thought this was going to be a bust. I'm actually on my way out the door to a gig, and I stopped to look at it, and I was like, oh, it took a long time for those cells to come up, but they did come up. And obviously, everything else that is not a cell is going to be this little piggy, because that's all else that was in that cup. So I am very excited to see how this is going to dry and how it will look when it's varnished. But there it is. So once I see how it dries, that will tell me a lot as well. But I am happy with this piece. I think it came out pretty cool. And I know once those pigments dry, they are going to be gorgeous. That Zimzalin color, I am like mesmerized by it. But there it is. I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed. Please do like, share, and subscribe and all that good stuff. Do check out the description box below for links to my PayPal jar, the tip jar, PayPal tip jar, if you feel so inclined. You will also find a link to my affiliates, DecoArt being one of them, and Fluid Art Company, where you can get these awesome Little Piggy Pigments. And you will also find the link to my website, GinaDeLuca.net, where you can find my art and music and fluid art inspiration cards for sale. And you will also find the link to our Facebook group. Go make some art. Join us there. Post your masterpieces. Ask your questions. Get some inspiration. A good time is had by most. Don't know if you'll be able to see it, but the sides are definitely blingy where it is drying. It's really hard to pick that up. But I do see some shimmer there. All right, I think that's it for me for today. I hope y'all have a beautiful day. Now go make some art.